After 3 years since his first startup failure, Alex, a 34-year-old software engineer, thought his dream was dead. Every day, he sat in an office, typing soulless lines of code for a project that wasn't his. Until one evening, while cleaning out a closet, he found his old laptop thick with dust, but still holding a file that had never been opened. A single title line appeared on the screen, and his heart skipped a beat, the idea that could change everything. The old laptop sat quietly in the corner of the closet, covered in dust like a piece of the past Alex had intentionally forgotten. He wiped off the dust, opened the lid, and was surprised to find it still working. On the screen appeared a file with a simple yet promising name, the idea that could change everything. His hand trembled slightly as he clicked to open it. It was the very first sketch of an app he once believed would change the world, before it led him to failure. 3 years ago, Alex had been a passionate software engineer. He left a stable job at a major tech company in Austin to chase his startup dream. His idea, a platform to help young people plan their lives visually and scientifically, was met with enthusiasm from friends. He raised money from people he knew, hired a small team, and worked around the clock. But after 6 months, everything began to fall apart. User growth stalled. Partners backed out. The money dried up. And eventually, Alex had to shut the project down. That failure didn't just cost him money, it took something far more personal, his belief in himself. Afterward, Alex returned to a regular office job. He told himself he'd grown up, that he had learned the lesson, that dreams like that were for other people, not for him. He was like the elephant in the old story, once tied down by a tiny rope, and forever convinced he couldn't break free, even when he had long since grown strong enough to do so. Day by day, Alex worked diligently and on time, but the spark was gone. He scrolled through LinkedIn, watching old friends thrive, starting companies, speaking at conferences. And there he was, still sitting in front of the same screen, writing code that wasn't meant for his own dream. But now, staring at his old laptop and that passionate blueprint from years ago, something inside him began to stir. Not regret, curiosity. Curiosity not just about the idea, but about the person who once had the courage to chase it. Was that version of him still there? Was today's Alex strong enough to start again, not from scratch, but from the very place he once fell? He didn't have the answer. But he knew one thing. Maybe it was time to test the rope that had held him back all these years. Was it truly unbreakable, or just an illusion? That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He sat in front of the old laptop for hours, rereading every note, every email, every product sketch from years ago. There was something strange about it, not the pain he had expected, but a deep sense of familiarity, as if he were having a conversation with an old version of himself. A version that had never known fear, never been wounded by failure. Why did I stop? Alex asked himself. Was the idea really that bad, or had he just lacked the patience, the experience, to see it through? He thought back to the time after his failure, when he turned down every new opportunity to start again, paralyzed by the memory of what went wrong. Whenever someone asked, "Why don't you try again?" he would just shrug and say, I already did." Like the grown elephant that still believed a tiny rope could hold it, Alex remained tied down by what he once believed to be true, that he wasn't good enough, that success wasn't meant for him. The next morning, instead of going into work, Alex took a day off. He went to his favorite cafe, the same one that used to be his first office. Sitting there, he opened his laptop and began to write, not to recreate the old plan, but to draft a new version, shaped by everything he had learned from failing. And surprisingly, the old idea wasn't bad. In fact, it felt even more relevant in a post-pandemic world where people craved personalized guidance and tools for emotional support more than ever. The problem had never been the idea, it was that he had given up too soon. Bit by bit, he began recovering old files, researching the current market, sketching out a new plan. There were no more fantasies about going viral in 3 months, no more illusions of million-dollar investments overnight. This time, he would move slowly, but with certainty. That afternoon, Alex met up with an old friend, Rachel, who had been part of his first team. She was surprised to hear he was revisiting the project. "Aren't you afraid of failing again?" she asked. Alex smiled, for the first time in years. "It's not that I'm not afraid," he said. "But this time, I'm not letting fear make the decisions for me." The old laptop, once a symbol of failure, had now become a symbol of a new beginning. And more importantly, Alex realized something profound. He had never truly lost the ability to dream. He had just stopped believing he deserved to. After a few weeks of pouring himself into rebuilding his old idea, Alex started to feel his body wearing down. Late nights, non-stop coffee, and endless hours hunched over a screen had left him drained and foggy. He knew he couldn't restart his journey if his body didn't have the strength to carry him through. So, for the first time in years, Alex made a decision. He went back to the gym. That afternoon, while fumbling with a cable machine, Alex noticed a man working out intensely across the room. What caught his attention wasn't the man's muscles or strength, but the fact that he had only one arm. And yet, he moved through his workout with precision and ease, executing advanced exercises as if that missing limb didn't matter at all. After the session, moved by curiosity and something deeper, Alex walked over to start a conversation. The man smiled and extended his right hand, his only hand. "I'm Marcus," he said. "And you?" As they talked, Alex learned that Marcus had been a Marine who lost his left arm in an explosion while serving overseas. After recovering, instead of resigning himself to a life of limitations, Marcus returned to training. He became a CrossFit athlete, competing in adaptive events and winning medals. The most remarkable part? Most of his techniques were based on just a few core movements, practiced to perfection. "Don't you feel limited?" Alex asked. Marcus laughed. "At first, yeah. But then I realized rather than trying to do everything like everyone else, I chose to get really, really good at a few things. Funny thing is, competitors didn't know how to counter my style. I turned my disadvantage into a strategy." Alex stood quietly, letting those words sink in. It hit him hard, because in that moment, he saw himself in Marcus. Not in a physical sense, but mentally. For the past 3 years, Alex had been trying to blend in, trying to be normal, just like everyone else. But in doing so, he had lost the very thing that made him unique. Marcus added something that Alex would never forget. You don't need every skill to succeed. You just need one thing sharp enough and the courage to use it. On the way home, Alex couldn't stop thinking. If Marcus could turn loss into fuel, why was he letting something invisible, fear, hold him back? That evening, for the first time in 3 years, Alex opened his notebook and wrote down a single sentence. I won't try to do everything, I'll do one thing well, and see it through. In the days following his meeting with Marcus, Alex felt something shift inside him. It wasn't a sudden surge of inspiration or overblown confidence, but a quiet clarity. He began to see things more clearly. The old project hadn't failed because the idea was weak, it failed because he simply wasn't ready. And that didn't mean he would never be ready. Alex made the decision to officially quit his job. As he hit send on his resignation email, his hands trembled, not out of fear this time, but excitement. For the first time in 3 years, he was choosing his path, instead of letting life drift him along. He called Rachel, his friend and former teammate, and invited her to help redesign the app. But this time, Alex didn't try to do everything at once. He wrote down one guiding principle for himself. Do one thing well, help people who failed find belief again. The new app was called Reset, simple, direct, and layered with meaning. Reset wasn't just a planning tool, it included self-reflection prompts, exercises to reframe thinking, and small daily action suggestions. The core idea: sometimes, you don't need to redo your whole life, you just need to hit reset in the right place. Unlike last time, Alex didn't chase investors or launch a flashy campaign. He started with a small group of testers, people who had once abandoned a project, hit a career wall, or felt lost in their 30s or 40s. The response was unexpectedly powerful. Users described the app as a quiet companion, never pushy, never judgmental, just gently helping them reflect and move forward. Alex continued building Reset at a steady, sustainable pace. Every week, he still made time for the gym and for Marcus. They trained together and shared updates on their progress. One afternoon, Marcus said something that stuck with Alex. You've got a stronger throw than anyone I know, your empathy for people who've fallen down. Don't ever lose that. That line etched itself deep into Alex's heart. He realized that his past failure wasn't an ending, it was a lever for something greater. There was a time when Alex believed you only get one shot at success, and when it passed, the door was closed forever. But now, he understood something simple, yet profound. Opportunities aren't found, they're created by those brave enough to return after the fall. Almost a year after leaving his old job, Alex found himself seated on stage at a small gathering, a modest talk on the theme of starting over after failure. There weren't hundreds in the audience. No blinding stage lights. Just about 30 people, quietly attentive. Some were early users of the Reset app. A few had emailed him in the past, sharing how they had finally restarted a dream job, finished a long-abandoned book, or simply woken up without that paralyzing weight of anxiety. As Alex looked at each face, he realized something. He was no longer the man hunched over his old laptop in a cramped apartment, afraid of his own dreams. "There was a time," he began, "when I believed I had missed the biggest chance of my life. My first startup failed. I thought I wasn't good enough, not lucky enough, not one of the chosen ones. And I lived as if that were true. But what I didn't realize was failure didn't lock any doors. I locked them from the inside." He told them about Marcus, the man who turned the loss of an arm into a reason to become a champion. He shared the most important lesson he had learned. You don't need to be good at everything. You just need one thing, a strike, a strength, a foothold inside yourself. Then train it, sharpen it, commit to it until no one can stop you. No one in the room said a word. But the silence was not empty, it was full. The kind of silence that happens when something sinks in deep. When the talk ended, Alex stepped outside. The late afternoon sun warmed his shoulders. He pulled out his phone, opened the Reset app, and wrote in the journal section as he did every day. "I'm no longer the man held back by fear of failure. I'm the man who learned how to rise from it. Life doesn't give anyone a perfect map. It gives us foggy roads, unexpected turns, and painful falls. But sometimes, it's in those falls that we learn to walk stronger." And if you're still reading this, if you've failed before, if you've doubted yourself, if you've ever thought, "Maybe I'm just not the one," remember this. You don't need to be chosen. You only need to choose yourself. And that you can do anytime.